Hello everybody and welcome to Fishtory on the Aquatic Morning Show and also on my channel, The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. These are all audio-based episodes as per usual. However, this week, the last episode is actually a special one and it has all sorts of documents you can download. So if you're a member, which is $1.99, as cheap as I can make it, it's always going to be as cheap as I can make it, and supporting the channel on my Secret History Living Inside Your Aquarium channel, you will get access to the files on 26 cichlids that live in desert environments or extreme environments, as well as some new documents on newly discovered cichlids. So that episode, the last episode of the week, is going to have a reading companion with all sorts of awesome photos and stuff like that in it. That's now available for download to the public. So with that disclosure and some festive Halloween lights in the background, how's everybody doing? We are on episode 148 of Fishtory. I hope you guys are doing well. It is all because of you guys, your support, you guys who watch on the Aquatic Morning Show and come check out the channel and so forth. You guys make it possible for me to keep doing this. I know my hair is just wild swooping this morning, but we're just going to roll with it. So, number 148 of Fishtory, no water in parts of the Mississippi and no crab boats in Alaskan waters. What is going on? So it turns out that the Mississippi is dry now. Originally the Colorado and the Missouri and several other rivers have run dry in parts. Well, now there's parts of the Mississippi that are totally dry. Up in the Midwest, close up by Chicago, there are spots that are down to just a foot or two. And because of all of this, you may think, well, that is not good for fish, which is correct also. But also, 40% of the traffic that goes down the Mississippi cannot make it down the Mississippi right now as we speak. And the Army Corps of Engineers has brought in big dredges because 60% of the United States soybeans, corn, and coal are exported down that riverway, as well, along with tons of other things that are imported up there, you know, up through St. Louis and New Orleans and all the stops along the Mississippi, basically. And right now there is a backlog of 1,600 barges that are waiting to get out and get their goods to market, that are coming out of America, obviously, down the Mississippi and its tributaries. So obviously this is a problem for fish. Spots are drying up, the fish are getting stranded, they're dying, little spots are turning into lakes. That's not good. Hopefully most of the fish recede with the river and kind of come and go. But obviously this is a big economic problem also, because everything from glass to make aquariums to substrate for aquariums, any goods that are coming into your town may very well be coming by barge and may not be making it up through the Midwest. So not to mention all the problems with the lockdowns and ports in other countries and things that are still going on. Now we have this to deal with as well. Although hopefully there will be some relief in the near future, in that the Ohio River Valley and its whole drainage basin of basically several rivers in Ohio should start filtering through, and hopefully maybe by the end of the week water levels should rise a foot or two, maybe. But in some places they need to rise as much as 10 feet before any ships can get through. So it's pretty crazy. Outside of Chicago alone, waiting to get down this one canal, there's 160 tankers that are waiting to get through. So that's not good, and it's the lowest level ever reported. Speaking of, this is a twofer episode, and that is snow crab fishery not going to open this year in the Bering Sea. This is the first time under U.S. management that this has ever happened, and it is catastrophic. So there was a 90% decrease in the population of snow crabs between 2018 and 2021. Now, scientists think that maybe some climate change related big swings in El Nino and La Nina type things going on could have done this. But if you think about it, there are around 60 large commercial crab trawlers that go just for snow crabs, and another double that also are out there in general that some years go for it, depending on how many licenses there are and things. And now with those out of service, that will be several million crabs that don't get harvested. However, the figure of the fishery number being down 90% in 3 years, that represents over 1 billion crabs, and they take several years to grow to, you know, the size where you'd want to eat them. So it's going to take some time for this to fix itself, and this could mean bankruptcy for a lot of those, you know, kind of deadliest catch type fishing boats that go for those snow crabs specifically. Now, some of the other crab runs are also in peril, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens with them. But that is Fishtory for today, and my freshwater saltwater mix-up ecology episode. So I hope you guys find that a little interesting, if not terrifying. Hopefully these episodes are, you know, a mix of both. But I will talk to you tomorrow, and I hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful start to your week. Take care. Bye-bye. Alright guys, what's going on? It's Alex Williamson here with Fishtory on the Secret History Living in Your Aquarium on the Aquatic Morning Show as well. And I hope everybody's doing well, and I hope that those of you who aren't doing well, perhaps maybe those of you who have MS or someone in your family has MS, multiple sclerosis, maybe you can benefit from the amazing zebrafish or the Danio, the Rario Danio, the little black and I guess golden or silver colored fish. Could be the next big step in treating or even curing MS in humans. So there is some new breakthrough medicine going on at the University of Bonn in Germany, and there's a whole big team of probably, I don't know, 24 scientists that are working on this, and PhDs in medicine and in ichthyology and biology. And basically they found a very similar gene to the one that is involved with multiple sclerosis and the production of certain enzymes and lack thereof that don't happen when you have it. And they've found that zebrafish are able to, or zebra danios rather, are able to have this gene turned on in their body. It is actually a gene that is so old that it evolved from when we had a common ancestor, and it has to do with like mucous membranes and also myelin sheaths in the brain and connectivity to nerves, the protection of those. And so with a few tweaks to what they are looking at, they're now able to look at baby developing larval zebrafish like that are just hatching, and they can actually see their nerves while they're still alive under the microscope, and they can turn off and on different cues with new CRISPR technology. And basically they're looking at different chemicals, different genes, and different combinations of those that can cancel out some of the destruction that happens in MS. That leads to the signals of muscular and nerve control being damaged. And they're looking at how either that could be repaired or maybe prevented in the first place. Because also, a lot of these creatures, like fish, can regrow fins and things like that at a much better rate than, say, we can regrow skin even. So we can go back and look at that. But if we go all the way back to something like a crustacean, it's too far from a common ancestor to really have many implications directly on like, oh, we can regrow a limb, we can regrow this tissue or that tissue. But it does also help us by looking at those creatures, figure out how those systems work in those creatures, and then maybe if there is an application where they can make it work with like one stem cell system in our body, like liver cells. That's one that regrows easily. So maybe there's another system like skin graft systems that they can get each layer of skin. They can find a trigger for it to turn on. Well, if they can, it'll probably be in either zebrafish or Medaka rice fish. They always call them zebrafish in scientific articles, but you know what I mean, the danios. And they're just those common danios that you'd see at the pet store, but they've been genetically engineered to either express certain genes or not express certain genes. And that is giving us a window into how we can treat, and also how these things happen, how they function, and what exactly is going on in this. So I always find it really fascinating how, you know, we might discover a new fish where it has some ability to do something, and it has a direct implication for our world, whether it be like last week when we were talking about how boats and stealth technology and speed can all be improved, or digging through rubble, even, for instance, and reptiles and snakes and things, how we can rescue people from earthquakes with robots that are able to move better through those things. So there's just never-ending applications of when we look at nature. And, you know, because we all happen to love fish, I just think it's another point of why we need to value, protect, and preserve what we have, because we don't know what we might find out. We don't know what we don't know, and what these fish could hold for us. So I always think that's really exciting news when we hear about things like that. And the fact that yet again the zebra danio is being studied for something like this is just incredible. They have made so many medical breakthroughs by this fish it's something that I wanted to make an episode on, and the episode would be several hours long. So maybe someday that will happen, but not right away. It's just too big of a task, which is a huge testament to those fish. Other than that, guys, I hope you're having a great day. I hope yesterday was good, today's better, and tomorrow's even better than that. And I will talk to you tomorrow, and I hope you guys have a good one. Back to you, Jess, and I'll talk to everybody else tomorrow, like I just said. I mean, I've said that like 3 times. All right, guys. Bye. What's going on, everybody? It's episode 150 of Fishtory. Thank you so much for making this series last this long. Who would have thunk that such fish nerdery could exist for 150 episodes? Did you? I didn't. Okay, so thanks for making me do it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming around, dropping comments, and also being with the Aquatic Morning Show. It's always fun. So today we're going to be talking about a company called the Biota Group, and they captively breed saltwater fish, and they work on things like corals and reef fish, and open water fish, and even food fish. But they have come up with over 100 different breeding procedures for different saltwater reef fish that weren't being bred in captivity before. And now they have a facility in Palau, they have a facility in Australia, they have a facility in Hawaii, and one in Florida. And so they kind of have all the different tropical ocean microbiotas, kind of like their names say, covered, in that they've got the plankton and stuff right there, so they can still feed them that, yet they're not harvesting off the reefs and the ecosystem at large. So they're still growing captively, they're just taking water and micronutrients and things from the water to help raise the fish in a realistic environment right there. But they have some new fish that they are raising, and just one of the stories that I wanted to kind of bring up was that they have recently announced that they are solving the hurdles of breeding blue streak cleaner race, and that was a really tricky one apparently to breed, because they have a mucous membrane that they burrow down into the sand, and they sleep that way, they find cover that way, and they also, part of being born involves that as their immune system and all sorts of other complexities. So with partners at the Oceanographic Institute of Hawaii and the Pacific University of Hawaii. They have captive bred cleaner races, including the Blue Streak cleaner race. And they said that it's a great worker fish in aquariums, and people always want these fish. They pick and clean pests and parasites off larger fish, and will create specific cleaning stations for the fish that come by, and schedule like, okay, we're going to clean this fish on this day, and this fish hasn't been cleaned for a week, so it's next in line, and they'll clean them in order. So they're also really smart fish. So as wild caught, the species is notoriously difficult to keep in captivity because they don't adapt well to aquarium life. They don't like to eat prepared foods. They like to eat parasites off of thousands of wild fish or hundreds of wild fish. And that's a problem. And so since they don't like to eat the prepared food, they want to clean those fish. It's a whole system of how they've grown up that's the problem. And if they're grown in captivity, then they can learn to eat something else and actually never want those parasites if they have a balanced nutrition profile that they can eat. And that's been figured out, which is really cool. So the other problem is that when they're wild caught, you never know how old they are. And that's true with a lot of fish, but with these ones, they really can't tell once it reaches maturity if it's, 1 year old or 5 years old and it's, reaching the end of its life. Full disclosure, I don't know how long Blue Streak races live. Races, whatever. So they've prepared this cleaner wrasse pellet called Easy Reef DKI pellets and frozen food. And they are now having them born in captivity, and they're adapting to aquarium life really, really well. Plus, they know the exact age of the fish. They can sell them young so they can live a full lifespan cleaning and hanging out in your aquarium. And they'll still go for parasites. It's just part of their genetics. So they still maintain that useful feature, and they still eat a lot of the harmful issues that crop up with corals, depending on what you need them for. They're there still, I guess. They're used kind of like Siamese algae eaters for specific situations, which I don't understand because I don't keep them. But that's what the article tells me, and the article is all-knowing because it's an academic article, so it must be true. Anyhow, so it sounds pretty cool, pretty exciting, and I went down to the Florida Aquaculture Lab, and I got to see what they were doing with breeding like firefish, and the fact that Dory and Finding Nemo clownfish, they're coming up with new and better ways to breed them in captivity in massive numbers, so they don't need to be harvested from the wild, and so that it's actually going to be cheaper in the long run to harvest them in Florida, in different tanks. So in the last bit of this news, the Florida Aquaculture Lab just got a $76 million grant to figure that out between the clownfish and the sea anemones, as well as some other corals, to figure out how to raise all of those things, and basically kind of a set like nano aquarium setup ready to go, how to raise that whole system and then pass it off to consumers. And basically what they do is they teach farmers how to do it after they develop that methodology. So that's pretty cool in my mind, and that's what they exist for. Is they are a publicly funded institution with a couple of the universities in Florida and kind of their own system, and they're basically solving problems. Like they'll be told that we got to figure out how to breed this fish in captivity, and they'll try to figure it out. Or this disease is decimating the fish farms in southern Florida, or central Florida rather, so we got to figure that out. Or we need a treatment for cleaning imports of this fish or that fish. And since fish are such a big part of the economy, like I said last week, up to $1 billion part of the Florida economy annually, ornamental fish that is, they get important funding. And so it's seen by Republicans and Democrats as a kind of line item issue that needs funding, unlike my electricity apparently. So that's the end of the episode anyhow, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one, and yeah, I'll see you when the lights turn back on. Bye. Hey everybody, what is going on? It's Alexander Williamson, the man with the craziest hair this week, and we are on episode number 151. That's some high proof fish nerdery going on, and we want to talk about, well, I want to talk about some new cichlids that were discovered. So they have Parananochromis, which are a really cool group. Nanochromis are these kind of long crib looking like cichlids. Well, Parananochromis are closely related to that, as that name would indicate. And then the species that they've recently discovered is in the Congo River, in the main river itself, not in the tributaries, not in the lakes. And it's going by the name Motingay, and or Motingay. I don't know if it's an African name or a French name, quite frankly. But Anton Leboge has listed it and shown pictures on his Facebook, who I happen to be friends with, and I was really excited because I love these little small cichlids, and we just keep finding more of them. It's like there's no shortage of them. Well, let me rephrase that. There's no shortage of species we're discovering. There's also no shortage of species that seem to be in peril. But that is a new species that has just been described formally, and alongside it, he had like 6 other species in his collection that he has that haven't been identified yet. So that's kind of cool that there are so many still waiting to kind of hit the hobby and also be saved, hopefully, you know, kind of an ARC thing. With people keeping them. Now, likewise, there's also a really cool paper that is now made public. I've linked it under my members section. You have to be a member to see that. Even though this video will be public, you'll go to the community tab and it'll be a members only post. But there is an in-depth profile on 26 species, 12 genera of both existent and now extinct in the wild cichlids that can live in extreme habitats. And there's all sorts of photos and illustrations about these fish. It's a whole journal, basically a quarterly journal that is dedicated to these extreme fish. They talk about the soda lakes in Eritrea and Ethiopia, the cichlids that can live in 106 degree water at 9.2 pH. I mean, just crazy stuff. And Giorgio Schiozzi and Levio Leoni are the two that put this together. I believe they're Italian researchers. And they both have spent their life, you know, tracking cichlids. But it's not just limited in this paper to, you know, the rifts or the, I'm going to say it wrong, but the Danakila Depression, or basically this big desert area where those soda lakes occur in between Eritrea. You know, Lake Turkana is kind of the start of it, and then you go north and you run into these very dry areas where basically pupfish and extremophile cichlids are all that are living there. But in these articles also, they start off with a story of how Napoleon Bonaparte's nephew was one of the naturalists that came up with the name cichlid, and they kind of take you through this whole history. It's really interesting, and this was actually published in 2019 when these were newer discoveries, some of them. So they're not like right up to date with 2022, almost 2023, but they are now public, and they used to be like $60 to get this journal installment. So it's listed free now, and I wanted to share that with you guys, that it's now available, I guess due to the author's wishes. And I love to see that when they want to share their work after, you know, the journals get their way with them, because a lot of times they're losing money on that, and it just shows that they are so passionate about their work and the fish that they want the work published or carried somewhere, even if they paid, you know, $1,000 or $2,000 to submit the articles and to get things peer reviewed. And than to publish things. It doesn't work the way you'd think it would, where you think maybe they'd pay the people who discover things in journals. No, everybody pays money to submit articles to journals, then editors cut what they don't want, and then they usually charge them another publishing fee, and then they charge them for the copy of the magazine. How crazy is that? So anyways, it just shows that there's some passionate people in the hobby and in the science of ichthyology around the world, and I always love seeing that, and I always love seeing the new fish. And that Parananochromis is a really beautiful fish too. So there's some linked info on that too as well, and where you can find photos for members. So other than that, guys, that's kind of wrapping up the week, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And I'll hand it back over to Jess at the Aquatic Morning Show if you're watching where this is free every week and every weekday that she is streaming. And other than that, I'm out. I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye-bye.